Alright, so we're back. The live stream got fucked because of the internet went poo-poo. So here we are. We're just gonna be recording the rest of it.
Don't forget that the second time we tried to start this, there was a cat fight.
Yeah, there was a cat fight. The cats kept fighting. Um, we're down to one guest. The other two students had to go to bed, so they couldn't finish the lecture. Yep. They were up all night, so they couldn't finish the lecture. They had to go to bed. But we're going to start where we left off. So, in the year 725 storm, we were just talking about the joint exalted marches from the Orlesian Chantry and the Imperial Chantry. So, the Orlesian Chantry launched with the aim of reclaiming, liberating Ravane, whereas the Imperial Chantry, its exalted march, wanted to retake the territory of Clarinus, which is a region of Teventer that we've discussed way, way, way long ago. And they also wanted to retake Saharon from the Kunari. The Orlesian Exalted March is generally a success, and they managed to steal the tome of Kozlun, that's the tome that the Kunari are all about. It's basically got all their teachings in it. And the original text is stolen by Orlais in that Exalted March. So that's pretty bad news for them. In 728 Storm, a dragon cult follows the rampage of the High Dragon Urzara. And together these things devastate a lot of the Northern Free Marches until the dragon is slain by a local militia. In 734 Storm, Archon Nomarin of Teventer is elected from the Enchanters of the Imperial Circle of Magi. He overturns the rules forbidden mages from taking part in Teventer politics. They've always been kind of like soft laws. Realistically, Teventer politics has always been governed by mages. Now they can just be open about it. And that's just something that Archon Nomarin does. In 744 Storm, the newly crowned Emperor of Orlais, Freya, allows women to become knights after witnessing the death of Sir Aveline. So, Aveline was a female fighter. She had entered a tournament of arms in Mont-Samad under the guise of a man. Her identity was revealed when she was knocked to the ground by the knight Kaleva, who she had previously bested in a joust, so this was kind of like the final match between them. And if she won this, she would have taken the contest, basically. Her helmet flew off when she hit the ground, and Kaleva demanded that her previous victories be considered invalid because she was a woman. Women weren't allowed to compete. They weren't allowed to be knights. The crowd basically booed him for this, and because of that, he killed Aveline in cold blood. And that is, yeah. So after that, Empress Freya decided that women could be knights now.
Yeah, that's like a. Oh, I didn't know that somebody would actually try. My bad.
Yeah. Bit of a Joan of Arc moment there, but love Sir Aveline, big historical figure. 752 Storm, the second exalted march of the Orlesian Chantry called on the Kunari ends in failure. Most of Antiva falls to the Kunari as a result. 754 Storm, the island of Estwatch is captured by the Kunari, who use its port to launch deadly dreadnought fleets. As we talked about, those dreadnoughts are those war engines, those submersible ships used by the Kunari to fuck up port towns.
They're like fucked up port
towns. The next year, pirates from Lomarin unite under the banner of the Felicissima Armada and engage in naval battles against the Kunari, turning Felicissima Armada. Yeah. This armada basically turns the tide of the sea conflict. So even though the dreadnoughts are big and scary, we get a bunch of pirates and they're working together. They start fucking up the Kunari. The third Orlesian exalted march on the Kunari is now called. 756 Storm, the Kunari land near Ostwick and launch assaults against Starkhaven and Kirkwall. The Kirkwall, the Kirkwall falls to the sorceries of the Cerebos in a nighttime raid. It has been occupied by the Qunari for several years. 760 Storm, Kirkwall is liberated from the Qunari by Orlais and becomes Orlesian territory. The Kirkwall City Guard is founded by the Chevalier Sir Michel Lafaye, who becomes the city's first Viscount. Before this, Orlais or Kirkwall would have been ruled by like a king or something like that.
You know what I really would have enjoyed to pair with this? Would be like slides of the maps at the time.
Oh, that would have been nice if someone had made a developing map, or I could have probably whipped something up if I had more time. But a developing map of Thetis as the territories expand and shrink.
You know,
That
it'd
would
be
have been
really
cool.
cool
Hmm.
if you did a Dragon Age lecture like once every like 2 years.
I keep coming back to this one whenever we improve the format.
Yeah, this is how we start over. This is like we just do a Dragon Age one reboot.
Okay, 771 Storm. Etienne Valmont I is crowned Emperor of Orlais. The Valmonts would continue to be a very strong part of the empire. 775 Storm. The Battle of Afsana between Orlesian and Cunari forces ends in Orlesian victory. The Cunari keep getting pushed back. 778 Storm. The Felicissima Armada wins a major naval battle against the Cunari, and as a result, they retake the island of Estwatch. 782 Storm, the Pentagast family takes over Navarra once more. In order to secure their Orlesian border, they approach Emperor Valmont with an offer of marriage. The childless emperor leaves his current wife of 17 years to marry Princess Soteria Pentagast.
You know, we love a good Henry.
784 Storm, the exalted march on the Canary ends with the Lomarin Accord. Lomarin Accord. We love accords. Um, uh, so it is signed on neutral ground, Lomarin, uh, by all nations and by the Canary. The only people who don't show up to sign it is the Tevinter. So technically, the Tevinter are still at war with the Canary. The Canary are left with one remaining city on the continent, Kant-Ar, which I believe is somewhere near Ravane. 788 Storm, the Chantry names Calenhad Theron of the Anointed, one of the Anointed, for spreading Andrastianism to the entire kingdom of Ferelden. So that's now the main religion there. 790 Storm, Ceridwith, an apostate from Kirkwall who hunted priests and Templars that abused innocent mages, is made tranquil by the Templars of Kirkwall. 797 Storm. Etienne I, still childless, sends his second wife, Princess Soteria, to a chantry cloister so that he can marry his mistress, Yvette. Navarre sends soldiers to retrieve Soteria Pentagast. She later marries a minor Orlesian noble named Gustave Lefleur and adopts his son as her own. He becomes known as Aurelian Pentagast, which is a name that you might remember from Inquisition. He will be important pretty soon. He comes up. Cassandra talks about him. She talks about being inspired by him. Yeah. 799 Storm. With the end of the Cunari War and the birth of twins Reville and Gratienne to Emperor Etienne and his wife Yvette, the hopeful divine names the next age the Blessed Age. As you can assume by now, big fucking mistake.
It's called the Blessed Age.
It will not be
It will
blessed.
not be blessed.
805 Blessed. Kirkwall gains independence from Orlais.
I figured out what those names feel like to me. Those names feel like whenever somebody's like, "Wow, this is gonna go really good for me," and then they don't knock on wood right after, and then it goes terribly wrong. That's exactly how it feels.
That's pretty much how it is. 810 Blessed. Cunari invite a group of Ravani diplomats to Parvalan. The meeting territory in Cunari territory sheds light on their society, which the Ravani diplomats would then go on to inform others in Ravane and Thetis about. 821 Blessed. Emperor Etienne Valmont I passes away. His son Reveille is crowned emperor. He becomes known as the Mad Emperor. 824 Blessed. Emperor Valmont launches the Second Orlesian invasion of Ferelden. He gains a strong foothold due to several noble Ferelden families undermining the country's defense. Amaranthine and its nearby Vigil's Keep are first captured by the invading army. It served as the capital of occupied Ferelden for some time. At the Battle of Lothering, the Tairn of Highever, Ardal Kuzland is slain defending King Vanadrin Therin. Vanadrin, unfortunately, is later killed, and Nematos, the sword of Calenhad the Great, is lost after his death. Yeah. Nematos is basically a stand-in for like Excalibur. 825 Blessed. The youthful King Brandel Therin is unable to unite his country, and for the next 2 decades, Ferelden is torn by inner conflicts and by the invasion from Orlais. 831 Blessed. The House of Repose, an Orlesian assassins guild, accepts a contract from the Du Periquet family to keep the mercantile activities of the Antivan Montilier family out of the borders of Orlais. This would go on to cripple the Montilier family in Orlais for generations to come. What?
Something's showing up really clearly on the camera. Pumpkin, you're gonna be a star.
Okay.
He responded.
He did.
He told you about it.
844 Blessed. The Orlesian Empire sacks Dinnerum and celebrates a victory in Ferelden. King Brandel then goes into hiding. So Orlais is still resisted by small rebel bands of Fereldans. Brandel's daughter, Moira therein, is considered a better ruler than her father, and she is called the Rebel Queen of Ferelden. Orlais names Megrin the official king of Ferelden.
Okay.
846 Blessed. Navarre begins the Parendel War with Orlais, as belated payback for Princess Soteria's dismissal by Emperor Etienne I. They take advantage of the fact that the majority of the Orlesian army is engaged in Ferelden. So this is kind of something that Navarre always wanted to do, but Orlais was too strong. But now that the invasion happened, they can kind of go in there. It's kind of like when your dog pisses on the floor, and then like you decide to rub their face in it like a day later. Like, dude, they forgot about that. Okay, yeah. Kind of old sins that we're bringing up there. Okay.
Or it's
Uh,
like whenever Pumpkin knocks something off the table, and I find him 5 seconds later. He doesn't know what that boy did. He doesn't know that he knocked something off. He's just looking at me like, "Hi, how are you today?" Like he did nothing wrong.
okay. Um, 847 Blessed, Emperor Revi grows fearful that the court will support Grand Duke Gratien, his brother, instead of him. He orders the assassination of Gratien and his family. uh, 851 Blessed, Emperor Revi dies after spiraling into paranoia, fueled by fear of retribution for killing Gratien's family. His son, Etienne Valmont II, is crowned the Emperor of Orlais. 855 Blessed. The war between Tevinter and the Qunari breaks out again as the Qunari retake Saharan. Tevinter is able to repel a number of attempted landings by the Qunari on the mainland. Emperor Etienne Valmont II of Orlais dies and is replaced by his brother, Judicael Valmont. A pretty short reign there. Bit of a Martin Van Buren speed run. I think it was Van Buren. Well, was it Van Buren who died like 20 days into his presidency?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lady Jane died 9 days.
Damn. 856 Blessed. The Judicael's Crossing Bridge is built in Emprise du Lion, a territory of Orlais formerly occupied by the Elves. 860 Blessed, Aurelian Pentagast fails to assume the Navarran throne when it is revealed he is not a Pentagast by blood. Remember, he was the adopted son of Soteria Pentagast. He leaves Navarra in disgrace and joins the Legion of the Dead in Orzammar, becoming the only human in recorded history to do so. Well, I mean, you're gonna go out. Better go out swinging, you know what I mean?
I mean, for that, the Legion of the Dead is like committing suicide,
Basically, yeah, it's basically like, hey, I am dead now. Everyone thinks I'm dead, and I'm gonna go
That
actually
guy
die.
really wanted to die.
862 Blessed. The Antivan city of Treviso is burned to the ground after a fire starts in a warehouse full of lamp oil. That just spreads, and that city's fucking burned. 870 Blessed. Emperor Judicael dies, and Judicael II, his son, replaces him. The war between Navarre and Orlais over Parendel concludes in a Navarran victory. 874 Blessed. Gaspard du Chalons, the son of the emperor's brother Florian, is born. 876 Blessed. In the coldest winter in centuries, a Dane of Starkhaven escapes from the circle of Magi. He kept a notch on his staff for each Templar he killed, and when he passed, he left his immense amount of magical research and his staff to his children. The next year, the 100 Days cough epidemic begins in Orlais. It claims the lives of Emperor Judicael II's twin sons and the infant daughter of his brother Florian. So this is a bit of a problem when it comes to the line of succession. 878 Blessed, Merrick Theron is born to Moira, and the bloodline of King Calenhad is continued. A commoner known as Logain Mactyr is born around the same time. 882 Blessed, Navarra begins a campaign of conquest within the Free Marches, encouraged by their acquisition of Parendale. They are stopped by Cade Arvale, who was named Champion of Tantervale for the deed, and this sort of becomes a tradition in Free Marcher cities. If a hero of exceptional worth defended the city or came to its aid, they were named the champion of that city. Not an official title, but one that held a lot of sway in the upper echelons of that city. 884 Blessed, Emperor Judicael II dies during a fox hunt and was replaced by his brother Florian, who did not want that position. Eamon Guerin is born in Ferelden. 887 Blessed, Florian de Chalons, brother to Gaspard and the daughter of Florian Valmont, is born. 891 Blessed, Tegan Guerin, the younger brother of Rowan and Eamon Guerin, is born. 895 Blessed, the Witch of the Wilds in the Antivan Wares shouts a prophecy about the impending return of the dragons. Remember how they had basically gone to extinction in the early Steel Age? They were thought to be dead for a long time. Well, dragons, she's like, dragons are going to come back. And everyone says, you're crazy, bitch. Go away. 896 Blessed, Moira is assassinated by Ban Seorlik and other traitor nobles at the behest of the Orlesian king Megrin. Merrick escapes thanks to the commoner named Logain, who helps him out. A dwarf named Indrin Idukin ascends to the throne of Orzammar. 899 Blessed, Divine Faustine II originally lined up the name Sun for the next age, believing it would be a time of violence and change. Good portions there. Then, even though they were thought to be extinct, a dragon was spotted in Antiva. She named the next age Dragon, a time of the impossible becoming possible. Dragons were brought back by Yavanna, the Antivan Witch of the Wilds. So, here we are. We've done all that history. We're finally up into the century that the games take place, why it's called Dragon Age. We're up we know all of the conflicts going into the century. Big shit's happening, big changes happening, a lot of reveals are about to be made in the lore. So we're going to get right into the early Dragon Age. Dragon Age Origins, the first game in the series, takes place in the year 930 Dragon. So There is some history to go through before we get there. We're just going to run through that real quick. Yeah, I love my apple cider. In the first year of the Dragon Age, Fer- ooh,
You got this.
Ferelden rebels, led by Merrick and Loghain, defeat Orlesian forces and gain independence for Ferelden. Woo! We're independent again. Yeah, baby. That's what I went for. That's what it's all about. 904 Dragon, Celine Valmont the First is born. Um, that's enough about her for now. I was about to explain what she goes on to do, but I have a bunch of notes about that as well. The next year, Kal Sharok is rediscovered, and it turns out they survived. So that dwarven stronghold, Kal Sharok, that I said survived all that time ago, they're discovered. They're on the border between Orlais and the Andervilles. And they open up to trade with the surface again. They're pretty distant to Orzammar, for the most part. In the year 919 Dragon, Emperor Florian is killed. Many suspect this was a move made by the Dowager Lady Montillon, who wished for Celine Valmont the First to ascend to the throne. The next year, Empress Celine is crowned after her mother's death, which is arranged by Gaspard's wife. You remember Gaspard, who's like her half brother or cousin, something like that. So Gaspard's wife makes it look like a hunting accident. Grand Duke Renaud, Celine's father, killed Catienne, who was Gaspard's wife, in retaliation, and then he dies after she poisons him with her stiletto. So, to recap, Celine's mother died, Celine's father died, and Gaspard's wife died.
Okay.
In one fell swoop. And also Celine's the empress now. She also takes an elven lover named Briala, and they like she's kind of Briala's like a server girl. It's kind of frowned upon, and then they go through some stuff. Read Masked Empire. It is the best Dragon Age novel outside of the original ones written by the written leading up to Origins. I would call Masked Empire probably the second or third best, if not the best, to be honest. It's a really good novel. Go read Masked Empire. It tells you all about Briala and Celine in more depth than we really need to go into here, because those characters don't end up mattering too much for the games. Yeah, you meet them in Inquisition. You basically decide who will go on to lead Orlais in Inquisition. Okay. 925 Dragon. Merrick is lost at sea and presumed dead. His son, Kalen, takes the throne. All right. The year 930 Dragon to the year 931 Dragon. This is the year in which Dragon Age Origins takes place. So if you don't want any spoilers for the games, you can get out of here right now. You go play them. Go play Dragon Age Origins. Go play Dragon Age 2. They're awesome games. I guess if you want to play Inquisition, make sure to mod the hell out of it so it's easy as hell. That game's boring. It's long. It's a lot of pointless side shit. It's got a decent story.
Are you sure?
What?
Decent story.
I would call Inquisition's story decent.
I don't know. Like
It is
there
it
was
is
so much time in between then they were telling
it
stories.
is nowhere near as good as the story of the first two games. Inquisition, it, no, it doesn't. I think the second game has the best narrative of the three games, even if it fails in a lot of other areas. Um, yeah, Inquisition is really shallow. It moves along the world, and I guess it sets up the main conflict of the Veilguard. But like, it is very much a homogenized fantasy role playing game. It loses a lot of the personality of those first two games and makes everything just kind of pretty and vanilla. Loses a lot of the dark fantasy from those first two games. Big unfortunate misstep.
It was like
Yeah, in a lot of ways. Um, Unfortunately, that's the most popular of the games, so do what you got to do. And it looks like the Veilguard is not going to be changing direction. It is not open world at the very least. It doesn't have all those mind-bogglingly tedious tasks that Inquisition did. But at the same time, it's going to be ignoring all of your choices from those three games, except for a couple from Inquisition. Um, Here's where I would say originally in my lecture, I was going to be like, hey, I'm going to run you through the games, how me and Abby played them. And just, I'm going to link my Dragon Age Keep, which is catalogs all the decisions in the games that you need to keep track of. I'm going to link it in the description so you guys can follow along. When Veilguard boots up, you can just put that world state in, and if you watch this lecture, you'll be up to date for all of the events. That doesn't fucking matter anymore. So, um, really, all you need to know is I'll cover it at the end of Inquisition, the choices that really matter from that game. Am I going to be playing Veilguard? Yes, I've already pre-ordered it, unfortunately. And I feel like at this point, it's been 10 years since Inquisition. I have to see how this keeps going. Veilguard was very much my last hope for BioWare after Anthem sucked and Mass Effect Andromeda sucked. So I don't see how they're going to crawl back with Dragon Age 4. I think that people who are still holding out hope for Mass Effect 4, like that ship sailed fucking forever ago. Mass Effect 3 shouldn't have happened. My Mass Effect 3 was all right. But basically, unfortunately, I think BioWare is in its death throes right now. And we're kind of seeing that in the last, after Veilguard comes out, the last three games that they've released, unfortunately.
I hate it whenever it's like, I really love this thing, and then they release three bad things in a row and then done.
Yeah, at that point, it's like I almost felt that with CD Projekt Red, because
That's how I felt with Sergi Mass.
yeah, CG Project Red almost lost my faith with Cyberpunk. Then I actually played that game. Then Phantom Liberty came out, and I was like, okay, we're back. We're so back, and I can't wait for Project Orion. Or I might do a Night City lecture. That'd be fun to do.
Ooh, I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah. I have a Johnny Silverhand costume all ready to go, so that would be perfect.
That's what you need it for, besides Halloween.
Oh yeah.
You do have to be that for Halloween for so many years now because you spent so much on it.
All right. So Dragon Age Origins. Here we go. Um, During this year, just some background information you need to know. The character Hawk, who is the protagonist of Dragon Age 2, she and her family are in Lothering when it gets sacked by the Darkspawn. They have to flee to Kirkwall, and then a Kunari ship gets stranded in Kirkwall later that year. All right. So, the hero of Ferelden is a city elf mage named Alim Serana. He is conscripted into the Wardens after he assisted First Enchanter Irving in stopping his friend Jowen from making rash decisions involving blood magic. Unfortunately, Jowen did use blood magic and escaped anyway. Yeah, also, these are all, like, already in that first sentence, there's like a million choices I've made there, that if you make differently, you'll have a very different run of Origins. So we're just going to be talking about the choices that we made throughout these games.
Go.
Yeah. Just to keep things streamlined.
Well, to be fair, you did go back and change a few of my decisions to make Alistair harder, so I didn't ruin his life.
I did do that. Yeah. Um, okay, so uh, basically, Alim is conscripted into the Grey Wardens because of all this stuff. Also, this guy named Colin was at Alim's harrowing. He's important later. So he's contributed in the wardings. Uh, he is called to go to Ostagar to assist King Kalen and his father-in-law, Taryn Loghain, against an upcoming blight. The fifth blight, as a matter of fact. This time, it is Earthimiel, the Dragon of Beauty. He is the main villain of Dragon Age Origins. So, Earthimiel, he's who's just risen. The wardens are saying, "Hey guys, Blight's coming," and a lot of people are ignoring them, but it's happening in Ferelden, so they got to go down there to deal with it. He quickly becomes friends with a man named Alistair over there, who's the first companion that we have, Alistair and Daisy. Daisy is the Mabari Hound you get early on in the campaign. They're your faithful hound.
I got so excited.
Alistair is the bastard son of Merrick Theron, which isn't revealed until you go to Redcliffe. But he's basically like this King Arthur figure. Um, he's he hides a lot of his turmoil in jokes and this sort of outwardly extroverted personality. He was training to be a Templar because he lived with Arl Eamon Guerin for a little while in Redcliffe until he was sent away because his wife Isolde didn't really like him that much. Um, but somewhere down the line, he was conscripted to join the Wardens by our boy Duncan, who was the Warden commander in Ferelden, I believe, at the start of Origins. That could be wrong, but it feels right. I don't know why that wouldn't be the case. During a training exercise in the forest, they meet with a witch of the wilds named Morrigan, who is a direct daughter to Plymouth. Aelin was the only one of the group that felt confident speaking to her because he's well versed in magic. And basically, she's like, "Get the fuck out of my woods! I don't want to see you here." Um, Later, during the Battle of Ostagar, Alistair and Aelin are sent to seize a tower to signal Loghain and his soldiers it is time to advance. When they do so, however, Loghain's army retreats and the Darkspawn overrun Ostagar. Morrigan is sent by her mother, Plymouth, to save them from the battle. Also, she says that actually, I think Plymouth herself rescues these two. Because Morrigan later says that Plymouth turned herself into a giant bird to save Alistair and Aelin. I think that uh, this is a veiled reference to the fact that she might have actually turned into a fucking dragon, which
Yeah.
I like a lot. Because it is revealed later that Plymouth can shape change into a dragon. Plymouth and Morrigan are both very talented shapeshifters. Okay. Um, so the two heal up, and Plymouth insists Morrigan accompany them as they use old Grey Warden treaties to build an army against the Fifth Blight as payment. Alistair is skeptical, but Aelin points out all the help they need all the help they can get. So at this point, I can talk a little bit about Loghain. After Aelin and Alistair light the signal fire for Loghain to go and help out, his army retreats actually, and both Duncan and Kaelin are killed because of that. So the reason Loghain did this because he thought Kaelin was a weak leader, and he was like, "I need to rule for Eldon. I knew Merrick. I knew how he ruled. I'll just take over." And his daughter is Queen Honora, so um, married Kaelin. So he's like, you know what? I will basically just rule for Eldon because I can do it better. And I know how to do it. And to his credit, Kaelin was a weak king. Does he deserve to die for that? Do the Grey Wardens deserve to be exiled for that, essentially? No, absolutely not. And Loghain spends the rest of the game basically trying to stomp out the Grey Wardens because he sees them as a bit of a threat from like foreign territories because the Grey Wardens are very obviously entrenched in Olay. In fact, the Orlesian Grey Wardens were supposed to come to Ferelden to help out, but Loghain basically stopped that from happening because he sees them as a foreign threat, which is stupid of him. They really need the Grey Wardens. It's a blight. Come on, everyone needs them. Uh, right? Yeah. Well, yeah, that's kind of a closely guarded secret that only Wardens can do that. Okay. So that's basically Loghain's motivation for most of the game. Even though Orthimiel is the primary villain of Dragon Age Origins, I would actually say that Loghain is definitely a more developed villain, and he's the one that shows up more often. So Orthimiel's the big bad, but Loghain's the guy who you're going to be dealing with for most of the game. So the trio soon gets to Lothering, which is a small town. Oh yeah, I guess we can talk a little bit about Morgan. Morgan's the Witch of the Wilds, as we said. She's right up there on the top left. She's kind of a staple of the Dragon Age series. She is definitely the beginning of the pipeline that led to Shadowheart and Yennefer. Um, Very interesting character. She's kind of a play on Morgana herself, similar to Plymouth. A lot of Dragon Age is kind of based on the Arthurian legend, especially in Origins. It's also just kind of like a twist on those things because Morgan is honestly kind of pretty young and inexperienced compared to Morgana. Alistair is flippant and a little bit like less less sure of himself and confident than King Arthur would go to be. So it kind of turns those tropes on their head. And it kind of puts these inexperienced kids at the head of the defense against the Fifth Flight. Um, moving on. Yeah. Moving on, the trio gets to Liliana, or Liliana fucking Lothering, that small southern town in Ferelden, just north of Ostagar. While there, they help out more peasants and refugees and manage to recruit two new party members. An ex-Orlesian bard turned chantry sister named Leliana, who goes on to be a big deal in the setting as well, and a Kunari called Stin, who was interred for slaughtering a family of farmers. Lothering is soon overrun after they leave, but a traveling dwarf merchant named Bodon Fedek and his son Sandal accompany them. Sandal's really good at doing enchanting. Fedek will sell you shit for most of the game. Um, what to say? What to say? So Liliana, like I said, she's this chantry sister. She used to be a bard. She was betrayed by Marjolaine, who was kind of her mentor and slash lover a little bit. Um, she shows up a lot. She ends up getting really close to this chantry sister, this revered mother. I forget her name exactly, but she would go on to become Divine Justinia the Fifth, I believe. She would go on to become the next divine, essentially. Um, yeah, and then Leliana would ascend to be her left hand, I believe, eventually. But that's all after this game takes place. Stin himself is really cool. So Liliana's story, I guess I'll go quickly over the companion quest. Alistair's story is about reuniting with his sister Goldana. She turns out to be a piece of shit who just wants him for money, and then you get the choice to either soften or keep Alistair like the same innocent man he is by saying, "Hey, you know what? Like at times is rough. I'm sure she's just saying what she had to say to get by, stuff like that." Or you can harden him by making him a bit of a tough ass by saying, you know what, people are out for themselves in this world, and sometimes you gotta be too, Alistair.
You were leading this way.
Okay. And that's basically what his story's about. He will eventually become the king of Ferelden in most people's playthrough. He can either rule by himself, he can rule married to Honora, he can rule married to the warden if the warden is a female human noble. He can become he can stay with the Grey Wardens and just leave the kingdom to Honora, or he can become a drunk if you really fuck up with his storyline, basically die. um, Morrigan, her story is about she finds this grimoire of Flemeth, which details the ritual that Flemeth does to stay alive for so long. Supposedly, the ritual she does. It's never confirmed, but basically, Flemeth will have daughters, and then she does a ritual to take over that daughter's body and lives on as that daughter. And Morgan's like, she's gonna do this for me. You gotta go fucking kill her. And then the warden and whatever party you take along decide to go down there. Plymouth turns into a dragon. You kick her ass. You think she's dead. She's not really dead. You can also just like give the tome to Plymouth and tell Morgan that you killed her. Yeah. We also chose to romance Morgan, which is pretty important for plot reasons. Liliana, her story is about either learning to, take revenge out on those who have done her wrong, like Marjolaine. You can choose to kill Marjolaine, or you can have her move on from the past and build a new life for herself by sparing Marjolaine. We spared Marjolaine. Stin, his story is pretty straightforward. You got to find his sword that he lost in an attack when he was out with his crew. Stin was basically sent by the Arashok to Ferelden because he's like, the Arashok was like, "What the fuck's the blight? Go down there and figure it out." So this branch of the Antom went off. Stin was one of them. In a fight, he lost his sword. The rest of his guys died. A Kunari without his sword, that's sort of like a part of him. He is incomplete without it. So his story is just finding his sword and making sure he's all right, getting him back together again. Uh, no, we're not on. Okay, we're not there yet. Okay, okay. So When the crew finally gets to Redcliffe, that's when Alistair confides a secret to Aleem that he's the bastard son of King Merrick and the half brother of King Caelan, making him the rightful heir to the throne. For nights at a time now, the village of Redcliffe has been plagued by attacks from the undead. The party helps peasants build up defenses to fend off their attacks until they're finally able to enter the castle. They learn that the band's son, Connor, has been possessed by a desire demon due to the actions of a blood mage sent by Loghain. This blood mage is Jowan. Alim fucking kills Jowan, because screw that guy. In order to free the boy and help out Arl Eamon and Ban Tegan, Elim decides that they should get the help of the Circle of Magi in Ferelden to go into that kid's dreams. I wasn't very distraught. I was kind of surprised.
Okay, sorry. We're just not connecting together.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, we're not there yet. Um, So they go to the Circle of Magi. It's being fucked up. There's this giant sloth demon named Torpor who's taking over. Knight Commander Gregor wants to write and actually write an annulment, but you're like, hold on, I can go in there and deal with it. This is where we get Wynn. Wynn is a senior enchanter of the Ferelden Circle of Magi. She's an old lady. She had a kid with Gregor forever ago. Her story is about finding this apprentice who it was like a Dalish guy, I think. And she basically was like, I'm the reason he fled the circle because I didn't teach him well enough. So they reconnect, and he's like, you know what, fuck you, kind of still, but we're chill now, I guess. Um, have not. Also, Wynn, she died in the Circle of Magi, I believe, but a spirit of, maybe a spirit of empathy? Was it not emphasis? Okay.
No, she just said I'm like it was basically described as like a bright light.
Okay, yeah. A spirit went into her body and gave her a second wind, and she suspects that at the end of this, very much like Gandalf, she will fucking die whenever the spirit's power fades. But she's like a super healer now because of that spirit. So Wind's pretty cool. They go up to the Circle of Magi. They find Colin there. Colin's like, we've got to kill all the mages in there. Elam's like, Colin, you're a fucking idiot. Stop talking. And then they go up there. They kill Torpor using the Litany of Adralla, which they use to keep his ass off of them. Remember, the Litany of Adralla is something that came up in the Black Age when it was invented by a Tevinter Magister. This frees senior or first enchanter Irving. The Circle of Magi are now able to help out with the blight, and him and a bunch of enchanters come. They go into Connor's head. They kill the Desire Demon that's taken him over, and everyone's like, all right, well, in order to cure Eamon, we've got to find the Urn of Sacred Ashes because that's the only thing that could cure the poison that was inflicted on him by I think Loghain / Jowens or someone. The shrine is the shrine to Andraste, which we discover the location of due to the writings of Brother Genetivi, a Chantry cloister scholar, who went to go and find this shrine. It is located to the north of a town called Haven, which has been overtaken by a cult that worships a dragon that they claim is the risen Andraste. The cult and the dragon are slain, and the group help a codex author named Brother Genetivi to find the urn and keep it. To find the urn, basically. When they do, Brother Genetivi's like, we gotta make it a holy site. Elim fucking kills his ass because he doesn't want tourists going to the Urn of Sacred Ashes. He thinks that's a pretty bad idea for that to happen. They go to Arleman, they use a pinch of the Urn of Sacred Ashes to revive him, and he's like, alright, Redcliffe will help in the Blight, and also I will call the Landsmeet when we're ready, so we can take back Ferelden. They then, so they're on their way to Orzammar, where they stop by the town of Honleith. In this town, there is a darkspawn attack going on. They free it. There's this guy who has this control rod and to a golem that his like dad owned or his great grandfather, who was basically just this wizard from Honleith. So Liam takes that control rod and awakens Shale, who is yeah, Shale fucking hates birds because she's been shot on by birds forever. Basically, what you need to know about Shale, her story, she's a golem, obviously. And it is through her that we learn that golems were originally people, Actually, we don't learn this necessarily through her, but golems were originally dwarves that were taken to the Anvil of the Void by Caridin and smithed to become golems, basically. Their souls would go into the golems, which is also a supporting piece of evidence to my theory that rock wraiths are some kind of similar construct to golems, for example. Caridin was so horrified by this that his ass went straight into the deep roads, and he was like, I gotta keep the Anvil of the Void hidden forever. As a punishment for his beliefs, Caridin was made into a golem himself, but after that happened, he took the anvil and he fucked off. Shale's story is basically about realizing this and realizing how fucked up it was that happened. And,
That was a devastating part.
yeah. Basically, at the end of the game, she's like, all right, I'm going to go to Defender, see if they can't make me a real girl again. And I was excited for Shell to show up in the Veilguard because that's where Teventer is. Obviously, that's where the game is taking place. But no, she's not going to fucking be there. No way that Shell shows up there now because the first two games don't matter whatsoever. Ugh, okay. All right, so the warden and his entourage get to Orzammar, where Balin, the son of King Iduken, basically King Iduken recently died, Indorn Iduken. Balin's his son. He sucks as a person, but he's got liberal ideas for opening up Orzammar and keeping trade flowing. And Harrimont, who was the king's closest advisor and a nice person, but he wants to keep Orzammar away from the rest of the world. And the reason that Harrimont has a right to contest Balin's rule is because apparently King Indra Naidukan told Harrimont in his dying breath that he didn't want Balin to rule and that he thought Harrimont should rule. But really, we only have Harrimont's word for that because he was the only one in the room where it happened. Um, the warden assists Harrimont in the bid for the throne, but in order to secure his kingship, Elim must get the endorsement of a paragon. The most recent paragon, Bronca, went missing after she took her entire tide into the deep roads to find Caridin's anvil. Bronca's drunkard of a husband, Ogren, joins them to search for Bronca. Ogren, his story is about reuniting with an old flame of his, learning to kind of settle down and be less of a hard ass drunkard who doesn't care about anything. And a lot of his story is undone by awakening, unfortunately. But that's pretty much Ogden. Not much to say about him. He's kind of just a comic relief character. Okay. All right. So yeah, so Ogren helps them go and find Bronca. They discover Bronca's female lover. She went insane. She's becoming a ghoul, which is like a tainted individual about to turn into a darkspawn. They eventually make their way to Caridin's Anvil with the help of the Legion of the Dead, which are banger people. Bronca and Caridin, alive as a golem, are standing against each other. Bronca wants to keep the anvil for Orzammar, and Caridin wants to fucking destroy it. The group sides with Caridin, who helps them kill Bronca and her golems. Caridin forges a crown for Balin, or for Harrimont, and then destroys the anvil before throwing himself into the fucking lava flow beneath, um, down in the deep roads. Balin tries doing a revolution last second. He gets killed, and Harrimont is made king. Orzammar keeps itself sealed off from the surface world for the most part. All right. Around this time, the warden and his entourage are contacted by a descendant of Sophia Dryden who wants them to investigate Soldier's Peak to find out if his grandmother is truly a traitor or not, mostly to clear his family name. They discover that both she and her mage advisor, Avernus, are still alive. However, Dryden is possessed by a demon and must be slain. Avernus, I think, is kind of like a ghoul-ish person, is left to continue. Oh wait, no, we killed his ass. Yeah, we killed both of them in this playthrough. Um, But basically, Avernus was researching like Darkspawn blood and how to better use it for wardens. Alim and the crew return to Ostagar to recover Kaelin's armor. That is the Return to Ostagar DLC. And they also give the king a proper burial. Return to Ostagar. I won't mention that yet. Not just yet. So we're all okay. Have I? Okay, I must have skipped Zephyrin at some point. Okay. So at some point, Loghain sends an elvish assassin to deal with the warden. That is Zevran. He's a member of the Antiban Crows. He's pretty cool. He was like the son of a whore, and then he was conscripted into the Crows at a young age. Killed a lot of people. Met this woman named Isabella, who he had a feeling with for a little while, which is important later. She's like a pirate now. Zevran, just this like really suave bisexual elf guy. Not too much to say about his story. It's basically like if you have high enough approval with Zevran, he won't betray you when the crows show up again. Um, and he doesn't have a personal quest outside of that.
I almost lost that.
Okay. The crew then sets out to conscript a Dalish clan in Ferelden to help with the Blight, but they have been plagued by werewolf attacks. The keeper, Zathrian, says that the Blight was brought on randomly, but through investigation, it is discovered that the werewolves are sentient. They follow a spirit called the Lady of the Forest, who explains to Elim that Zathrian cursed humans with lycanthropy long ago when their ancestors killed his son and did unsavory things to his daughter. He used his blood to make this curse, so as long as he remains, so does the curse. The warden persuades Zathrian that it is unethical to continue punishing the werewolves, and he sacrifices himself to cure them and his clan. The elves then decide to fight for the wardens. Need some water.
Water break.
Okay. Alim then talks to Honora, and he recognizes that oh, what? Oh, I skipped ahead in the notes. Okay. Aurel Eamon decides it's time to call the lands meet and moves his forces to Denerim. Alim and the crew help out many nobles throughout Denerim, gaining them all as allies against Loghain. They have to rescue Queen Honora from Aurel How's estate. Aurel How is played by the awesome Tim Curry, by the way. He's a pretty one-dimensional villain. I didn't even put him up here. He's just this evil guy who likes torturing people, and he's loyal to Loghain. All right. He's important, but he's not very like three-dimensional or anything. I could have put him up there realistically, but I didn't remember him. So um yeah, Aurel Howe is holding Queen Honora like captive in his estate basically. She's basically under house arrest. Nora betrays the warden to escape, so he and Alistair are captured. Morgan and Ogren. No wait, who'd we go with? Who went on the rescue mission to
Me and Anderson in the prison.
you and Alistair in the prison? I know I don't remember who went on the rescue mission in our playthrough.
Morgan for sure.
Morgan and someone else went on the rescue mission. Okay. They went on the rescue mission to get Alistair and Alim out of there. In Arl Howe's dungeon, they meet another Green Warden called Riordan, and he tells them that in order to kill an Archdemon, you gotta kill yourself. Unfortunately. They're like, okay, well, that sucks, but Riordan, come along with us. Riordan is pretty much just an exposition character who exists to fill you in about more Grey Warden lore that otherwise Duncan would have told you if Duncan had survived. Alim talks to Honora, and he recognized that she had to do what she did in order to escape Arl Howe's estate in one piece. Eamon calls the lands meet again, and Loghain is challenged. All of the bands and Arls side with Alim, save one, and Loghain's like, fuck it, I'm gonna duel you. Alim wins but forces Loghain into becoming a Grey Warden rather than recruiting him. As I said, that's often used as a punishment for criminals because it's basically a death sentence. Alistair and Honora get married and roll together for the best of both worlds, but Alistair's like, I'm not going to help you out anymore because I fucking hate Loghain. So I will rule and I will still support you, but I'm not going to be part of your party, basically. This is where Morgan details the ritual of the old god baby. I believe you can have the father of the old god baby can be the Grey Warden, uh, Alistair, Loghain, or Riordan. Obviously, if you're romancing Morgan, it makes sense to just do it yourself. Um, um,
It makes sense to just do it yourself.
uh, but basically, that allows you to circumnavigate the whole dying when you kill the archdemon thing. So, Alan kills the archdemon. Morgan fucks off with the old god baby, and the crew manages to just pull through. Also, we suspect that this is the reason that Plymouth sent Morgan with the crew was to do that. I think she says that. We're not there yet. We're still doing the making. Not before the Battle of Dinnerham. Okay, so the Awakening expansion, this basically adds like a whole after quest to the campaign. Uh,
You love leaning that way, so I'm just fixing it.
Alim is named the Warden Commander of Ferelden. He takes over Warden's Keep and basically becomes the new Arl of Amaranthine. He supports people throughout his time as Warden Commander. They discover new sentient darkspawn and launch an investigation against them. Basically, this is a guy named the Architect, and he's a sentient darkspawn. If you remember, the Architect is a pretty pertinent name in the lore. That is because this guy is one of them Tevinter Magisters from forever ago. He is the architect of the works of beauty. He's a talking darkspawn, and he knows how to like sever the connection to the call, I believe it is. So darkspawn can become sentient if he works on them a little bit, which is awesome. We love the architect. He's technically a villain slash antagonist, so we had to put him there. But the architect's awesome.
He's more of an antagonist than a villain.
Yeah.
Like, he makes our lives a little bit harder, but not on purpose. He's just trying to get our attention.
Yeah. There's also another faction following the mother, which is a brood mother that's sentient, and she's like, fuck the architect. We love blights. We love blights. Blight shadow game. We're gonna do more of them. So yeah, the architect basically made all these darkspawn sentient, and the mother was like, hey, fuck your message. I don't want to do that. And that is how you get the conflict of awakening. We've also got a few minor companions to go in. First of all, Ogren shows up again. His story is the same as it was in the original. You got to tell him, go be a family man. He's like, oh, okay, I'll go do that. Actually, I know in Awakening, it's more like I can't do that, but I guess I can still make good of my life, something like that. Sigrun is a member of the Legion of the Dead. She's a rogue. She's pretty cool. She doesn't have a problem joining the Grey Wardens because she's basically already dead anyway. Valana is based by Azula from Avatar. Uh, yeah. She is this Dalish woman. Her sister was killed by humans, so she went on a rampage. I think she was like the second or the first in her clan under the Keeper. Nathaniel Howe. Yeah. Valana's like, fuck this, I hate humans. And Aelin's just like, hey, chill, become a Grey Warden now. You've also got Nathaniel Howe. He is the son of Rendon Howe. And he basically starts the story off all edgy and shit, but then, like, you very easily convince him, hey, Arl Howe is a bad man. You can be better than him. So Nathan's like, all right, I'm going to be better than him. Nathan is probably the best companion from Awakening, and honestly, he's pretty cool all around. I wish he'd become a mainstay of the franchise. He does show up in Dragon Age 2 for a little bit.
I wanted him in it all the time.
Yeah.
I would have preferred Nathaniel Howe to Anders. I understand why it was Anders, but I would have preferred.
Actually, interesting side note. When they were early drafting for Dragon Age 2 slash Exodus, they definitely wanted a companion from Awakening to be in the cast. They were having a tough time deciding between Villana or Anders, and apparently it came like down to pretty much the last second where they're like, okay, we got to make a choice, we'll make it Anders, and then they went forward with designing the game around that. So we got very close to an alternate universe where Dragon Age 2 had Villana as a companion,
We could have had Azula.
as a main companion.
Damn.
Speaking of Anders, he is this cocky like Han Solo type mage. He's pretty cool.
I
Um,
would describe him as Han Solo. You're so right.
yeah, yeah. He's kind of this roguish bisexual mage guy who's always running from the Templars. If you're a mage, then like you have a little history with him. You're like, oh hey, you're that guy that was always breaking out of the circle. Yeah. Uh, Anders is pretty chill. He doesn't have a lot going on in Awakening. It's when we get to Dragon Age 2 that more stuff goes on with him because he's a carryover companion. Um, who else do we got? Oh, we've got Justice, I guess. There was this Grey Warden, and this Grey Warden died, and then the Spirit of Justice went into his body, and now you've got Justice, who's this rotting corpse spirit guy. He's pretty cool. He's just kind of like your standard like brute kind of character who
I would just say he is literally the embodiment of justice.
yeah, he's the embodiment of the virtue of justice, which is what spirits were back in the day. They were different virtues. Um, but yeah, the warden he inhabits, his name was Christoph. Christoph has a wife. Just like I got to see the wife to make things right. Wife's freaked out, but like eventually,
Wife freak out.
wife freak out. Um, then yeah, justice comes to terms like, well, shit. I guess it better just make things right while I'm here. Who else? Okay, Valana, Sigrun, Nathaniel, Justice, Anders,
I think that's it.
Ogren, obviously. I I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Yeah, because there's
Yeah.
one companion for each area. Then you start the game with Anders, Ogren, and Nathaniel.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Okay. So those are the companions for Awakening. Just to run through those guys real quickly. Um. All right. So the Mother's faction assaults Amaranthian and Warden's Keep. Luckily, we upgraded all of Warden's Keep, so we could keep that shit. Um, Alim. So yeah, Architect basically goes to Alim and he's like, "Hey, I plan on stopping the blights by uh tracking down old gods. I think he plans to kill them before they can become archdemons or something like that. I don't know. He can track down old gods missing in the blight. We also learned that the fifth blight was started because the architect had found Earthimiel, and a lot of darkspawn followed the architect, and that's how we got the fifth blight. So we learned that it's a little bit of a muddied the water on the architect, but he's still a chill guy.
I feel like that was an honest mistake.
Yeah.
Like, it was a bad mistake. There was a lot of
Yeah.
destruction because of that mistake. But it doesn't mean that he did all that destruction on purpose.
And to his credit, in the 10 years since Origins, hasn't been a single blight. So
Hey,
case shut and closed on that.
exactly. He only caused one.
Oh fuck. Okay, so Alim decides to spare the architect. He goes and kills the mother. That's the end of Awakening. Um, Alim's hired to join a dwarf on a Deep Roads expedition where they fix some stupid lyrium problem. This is the fucking Golems of Amgarak DLC, which is just like a little side story that has no connection to basically anything else in the games. Yeah, you get a Bronto as a companion. We played through this. I don't know if you remember this.
I do.
Yeah, get a Bronto as a companion for a brief bit. It's neat. It's like an hour long. Okay, finally we get what?
I remember it very vaguely. You know?
Yeah,
Like, almost as if it was a fever dream.
yeah.
Because it was so short.
Um, So this is where you also get Witch Hunt. Basically, Aleem is tracking down Morrigan. On the way, he meets these two young adventurers, and they fall in love. It's very sweet. But he tracks down Morrigan. Morgan's like, "I gotta go. I found this alluvion, and I'm gonna go there and raise Kieran." And the Morgan's like, "Without me?" and basically they end up going into the alluvion together, raising Kieran for some time. That is the end of Dragon Age Origins. That's all of that. A very brief explanation of Dragon Age Origins, because I still highly recommend going to check out that game. But if you're looking for the brief plot points of that game, you just found them. They're in this lecture here. Um, I don't think I have anything else to elaborate on. That was pretty much cut and dry. That's how Origins went. All right. So Dragon Age 2 follows, I think her name was Elise Hawk for us. She's a mage, an apostate, um, and they escape the destruction of Lothering with Flemeth's help. Flemeth turns into a dragon, fucking flies into the coast. They get to the city-state of Kirkwall. We're here. We're in Kirkwall finally. A lot of shit's happening in Kirkwall. So, like I said, the Qunari had to land there. And oh yeah, it is Divine Justinian the Fifth. Nice. Um, so yeah, um, we get to Kirkwall in Act 1. We're basically just a mercenary at this point, but we have to save up to join this Deep Roads expedition, which is being put on by Bartrand. Bartrand and his brother Varric. Varric comes to us and he's like, "Hey, in order to be cool, you have to. I'll help you get 50 gold." And Varric is a very suave dwarf rogue with this awesome repeating crossbow called Bianca. Um, he is probably my favorite companion in the games. Varric is fucking awesome. Again, a very Han Solo-like character. Uh, to go here, okay, so Varric, basically the entirety of Dragon Age 2 is told through the lens of Varric being interrogated by by a seeker named Cassandra Pentagast, who is the right hand of the Divine. Basically, she's just wanting to know where Hawk went, and he's like, "I can't tell you that shit." But he can tell you all about what happened in Dragon Age 2. The reason I have it up here is Exodus, by the way. Dragon Age 2 was originally going to be called Dragon Age Exodus to fit with the theme of, like, escaping from the bite and shit like that. Dragon Age 2 was also originally supposed to take a lot longer to be made. EA fucking cut that time way down. I think between the beginning of development and the release of Dragon Age 2, there were about 18 months. So fuck them for that one, because they really stunted this game. It is very small. The gameplay is super basic. Basically, the only saving grace for the story and the characters. And even then, they suffer because of the limitations that EA put upon them. Dragon Age Exodus could have been fucking awesome, and Dragon Age could have been something way more than it even is now, because it's still a pretty popular gaming franchise. It could have been fucking up there, really. Dragon Age Exodus and the loss of it will always be, in my eyes, the one of the biggest tragedies in gaming history. Carver slash Bethany. So depending on your class, one of your siblings dies. And the one that it is depends on your class. If you're a warrior or a rogue, Carver dies. He's just like a normal warrior guy. Kind of pissy that you have to be on the run all the time because you're mages and apostates. He was at the Battle of Ostagar. Otherwise, if you play a mage, Bethany, who is Carver's twin, she gets killed. She's also an apostate, like Mage Hot. Um, so that's pretty sad all around. I can't say too much about Bethany. She's just like a very general yes girl kind of character. She has the option to either join the Circle of Magi or become a Grey Warden or die. Carver has the option to join the Templars of the Grey Wardens or die. Um, Carver, I think, is the more interesting choice. I think playing a mage is just the right way to play Dragon Age 2 because that is so ingrained in the story. Um, but yeah, you have a bit of a sibling rivalry with Carver if you're a mage, which is cool because he fights you back. He's not just a yes man, kind of like Bethany is. And I think, in general, he's kind of like a shittier person, but I think that's what makes him more interesting than Bethany. Varric, like I said, he's suave, smooth talking dwarf guy, storyteller, writer, big deal, pretty much. Okay, we also get in Act 1. Oh, fuck. Aveline's very early on. So Aveline, we meet her and her husband as they're fleeing Lothering. They were also at Ostagar. I don't know if I mentioned that, but Carver was at Ostagar. Um, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Her husband has to die. Aveline kills her husband to put him out of his misery because he's been blighted, basically. Aveline becomes a member of the Kirkwall City Guard when you show up. She's obviously named after Sir Aveline, who was that character in history that, was renowned for all that. She's pretty cool. Her story revolves around getting her to move on from her husband and romance a new character who she meets in the guard. She's also just having a ton of fun keeping the city together because eventually she becomes the captain of the guard because Kirkwall's guard is very corrupt. Then she exposes that, becomes the new captain, and has to deal with all that fallout. All right, we've also got Fenris, Isabella, Merrill. Okay, we're gonna run through them real quick. Your next one. Okay, Isabella, pirate lady that Zevran knew and had a fling with. Um, they have a fling again. It happens. Uh, I'm not gonna say that right now. Basically, all I need to know about Isabella, she's just kind of sexy pirate lady. Meryl, dwarvish elf lady. She's the first in her clan, I think. She actually shows up in Dragon Age Origins if you're a Dalish elf origin. She will show up in your little origin that you play through before getting to the game proper. Um, her story is all about fixing an alluvion, and she doesn't want to be part of the clan anymore. She kind of feels like an outcast. She's like, I'm gonna go do this. Reason she's doing that, she's got to do blood magic to fix the alluvion, which she does. A pride demon shows up, kills Keeper Marathari, who was her mentor, and then basically we ended up having to kill her entire clan because of that. Meryl is a very much a manic pixie dream girl character, and you can tell she was made around that era. Um, Fenris is an escaped to venture slave. He's got these lyrium tattoos. He can kind of move through objects with them. If he activates his lyrium tattoos, he can like rip out your heart. He's pretty cool. His sister is basically about his slave master is coming to get him, and his slave master uses his sister to get close to him. Fenris ends up killing his sister and his master, Denarius, I believe is his name. And basically his story is about like, yeah, mages suck and I want to kill them all, but I guess not all of them suck if you manage to friendship him. Um, and I'm not going to get into Sebastian and Talus. I might as well get into Sebastian. Sebastian Vale sucks. He's the Prince of Starkhaven. He's a chantry boy. He's all about revenge early on. Then he's like, wait, no, revenge is bad. And then he's like, I hate mages because mages killed the. Well, we'll get to that. Mages cause a lot of problems in Kirkwall, and he's anti-mage because he's pro-chantry. Sebastian Vale is a DLC character. It really shows because no one fucking reacts to him ever. He was very much a last minute addition. Doesn't add too much. Would have been a bigger player if the final DLC for Dragon Age 2 didn't get cancelled, but it did because EA sucks. Um, okay, moving on. So you go to the Deep Roads. Carver stays behind, becomes a Templar. You find this red lyrium idol. Bartram goes crazy. He's like, this idol is everything to me. So he takes that idol, leaves you guys to die, but you guys bust out of the Deep Roads. And you go back, you hunt him down. This is where we get to Varric's story. Varric's like, hey, Bartram, I'm gonna fucking kill you. So he goes there. The lyrium idol is gone. Bartram stole it. There's one shard left, but basically Hawk is like, no, we gotta destroy that Varric. Don't fuck with it. We chose to keep Bartram alive, and he went to a mental asylum where Varric still visits him every now and then. That's that story. Act 2 takes place in 934 Dragon. Divine Justinia V is named, and the Qunari and Kirkwall are provoked into an uprising against the city. It's because they believe that the Tome of Kozlun is in the city, and they want it back. It is in the city. Isabella stole it from the Qunari. That's why she's in Kirkwall. She just got crash landed. Basically, this is Isabella's story. You get the choice to send her off with the Qunari, or you're like, you know what? Fucking no, we're not going to do that. Isabella, you fucked up. Just give the tome back. The Qunari still want her, though. If you made certain choices at this point, you are named Basilit On with the Arashok. If that is the case, you are allowed to duel the Aeroshock one-on-one, where you kick his ass, and Hawk is officially named the champion of Kirkwall. So, awesome. Mage champion of Kirkwall. This kind of sucks for Knight Commander Meredith, who is this bloodthirsty Templar leader in Kirkwall. The Viscount gets killed by the Aeroshock, so she kind of becomes the de facto ruler, but she can't really. She wants to kill all mages. There is a blood mage epidemic in Kirkwall, to be fair. This is a big theme of the game, as the Templars are oppressing the Kirkwall mages, and blood mages are fighting back, and through it all, there's good Templars, good mages, bad mages. Um, all that stuff's going on. But she's like, I want to kill all the fucking mages. And first Enchanter Orsino was like, no, you can't kill us because we're people, you idiot. um, yeah, Orsino is a pretty good character up until literally the last time that we see him because they just assassinate his ass.
Just until the last line.
Yeah.
The last line that he says.
Yeah.
And like, you got me. I'm
Uh,
like, yeah. And then like, right at the end, I'm like, oh, you lost me. Why are you doing that?
Then we get Mark of the Assassin. Mark of the Assassin, I believe, was the first DLC for Dragon Age 2. It is basically a self-insert fanfic for Talus's actress, who is the redhead chick, Felicia Day. Big Dragon Age fan. She made a shitty Dragon Age web series on the same time called Dragon Age Redemption, which is basically Talus's backstory. It sucks. Mark of the Assassin sucks mostly. It gets shit on a little too much, to be fair. I think there's some good stuff in it and some good stuff in Redemption, and it's cool for Felicia Day to be in the game. They did a weird face scan for her, so she's playing an elf, but she's got weird proportions on her face. It's weird. Talus is another manic pixie dream girl type, even worse than Meryl, I would say, personally. Basically, she's a member of the Kunari, and she's got to steal a list of names, which are like Kunari spies embedded deep in other cultures, back from the.
I feel like there are two different types of manic pixie dreamers. I think Meryl's is more like she's a little bit stupid. She's a little bit stupid all of the time. And the other girl is just like, I'm mysterious. I'm so mysterious. And it's two different vibes, but they're both bad.
Okay. Yeah. Duke Prosper is the current Duke of Chateau Haine, which I remember from earlier. He's got this list of Kunari spies, and they got to steal it back. They kill Duke Prosper and his wyvern. Uh, that's pretty much it. The opening is pretty strong. You go on a wyvern hunt with all these nobles. It's pretty nice. Not too much going on in Mark of the Assassin though. Next up, we've got Legacy. Legacy's baller. Legacy was kind of part of the setup for Inquisition. Basically, remember that blood mage who sealed Corypheus away forever ago? Turns out he was a descendant of Hawk, or an ancestor of Hawk. And Hawk's father was the last person to re-up the seals on Corypheus' prison. So he's getting out again, and he's sending out people. He's corrupting all these dwarves to go do his bidding. They managed to lure the Hawks to that place where he was sealed away. I believe it's in the Anderfels, because they obviously need Hawk blood to free Corypheus. When they get there, there's two different Grey Wardens. There's a mage who's like, we have to. I can't remember exactly what her plan. Well, basically, there's like one who was the previous first warden, and he's like, "Hey, we can't let Corypheus out of here." And there's another one who's like, "I guess we got to do." I can't remember their exact motivations. You side with one though, and in the end, we sided with the guy who was going crazy. In the end, we basically had to be like, well, Corypheus is waking up. We can't stop that, so we've got to just use our blood, open up the temple, then we'll just kill him. It'll be easy, right? Well, not so easy, because we learned in the Inquisition that Corypheus' soul just travels to the nearby Grey Warden. He runs away all mischievous. He's like, hey, 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 I'll see you again. We're like, what the fuck was that all about? But that's Corypheus right there. Corypheus is the conductor of the Choir of Silence, main villain of Dragon Age Inquisition. Also main villain of the Legacy DLC. That's pretty much all we know about him right now. He wakes up, Dumat's silent, he can't hear his old god, and he's like, what the fuck is going on? Okay. Uh, yeah, that's how. Okay, we've done all that. All right. 940 Dragon. Civil War in Orlais begins while all-out war between the Templars and mages begins due to the events in Kirkwall. Um, so basically, what happened in Kirkwall was, oh, I know, 937 is when it actually takes place. So 937, uh, things get to a boiling point. Um, you got to choose between mages and Templars. Obviously, you go with mages. Orsino's like, I have to do blood magic to stop the Templars, and I was like, no, you don't fucking do that. But now you got to kill Orsino. He's a boss fight. Then finally, you kill Meredith. You realize Meredith has made the Red Lyrium idol into her sword, so she's going crazy because of that. She can also command all of the statues. It should be said by now that Colin is also a member of the Kirkwall Templar Order, so he's here, and he ends up betraying Meredith because she sees her going crazy. Carver also sees this going happening. So like we gotta kill the fuck out of Meredith, and they do. Except Meredith doesn't stay dead because she shows up in Dragon Age Absolution, which is a Netflix original show. I haven't watched Absolution. I've heard it's absolutely terrible. So in my head, Meredith is dead. I don't really see her popping up in the Veilguard, to be honest with you, because supposedly nothing from those first two games matters anyway. So I would be surprised if she shows up. So in my head, Meredith's dead. Hot killed her ass. She turns into this like brass statue. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But theoretically, if you wanted to know what happens to Meredith, you could watch Dragon Age Absolution.
I'm gonna watch it now.
Okay. Oh yeah. Also, Anders blows up the Chantry. And Anders. Oh yeah, I didn't even fucking mention Anders is in this game. He's a companion again. I guess I forgot to write him down.
He was
Um,
the love interest.
Yeah, he was our love interest. He now has the spirit of justice inside of him. Well, inside of Anders, it witnesses all of the cruelty done to the mages. It gets corrupted into a spirit of vengeance, and spirit of vengeance basically gets Anders to blow up the Chantry and kill the revered mother within.
Yeah. I I don't
We let Anders live.
yeah, we let it in this list. But I don't think
You
he has
can't
to
kill.
continue to like survive any longer. Once we let him go, you know? I think he just kinda dies.
He was originally supposed to show up in Dragon Age Inquisition as this like old hermit character.
That'd be really weird for aging.
No, I mean you can be a hermit. Like he was supposed to have like the shaggy beard and all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I just I would like to point out that I was talking about how I was no longer going to romance Anders because I was like, this guy keeps telling me that he's gonna break my heart, and I'm starting to believe him. And instead of, I literally said this to you, and then I was like, no, it's gonna be way more interesting
Yeah.
to romance Anders.
And it was. It
Was.
certainly was. Okay, so that's Dragon Age Exodus. Pretty good. Could have been a lot better. Fuck EA. Again, that's just SparkNote's version. There's a lot more going on in that game. There's a lot more cameos we didn't even mention that show up because your choices mattered back in the day. So a lot of things from Origins pop up in that game, depending on your choices that you made. So yeah, in the year 940 Dragon, Justinian V calls for a conclave. She's like, we need to figure out this Mage Templar war thing, right? Unfortunately, a big bomb goes off here, and the Magister Corypheus is behind all this. He has opened a rift in the sky, which is a veil. This is the veils I was talking about earlier that link directly to the Fade. He's able to do this with this orb. Our player character, a Dalish elf named, I forget what her fucking name was. I know that Inquisitor Lavellin's the last name, because she was part of that clan. Um, you get this mark on your hand that can like close rifts and shit.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
That was really kind of hard.
They can close rifts. Basically, you do this because you try to interrupt Corypheus killing Divine Destiny the Fifth. You don't succeed, and she ends up dying, but she does learn to be a spirit in the Fade. How did Corypheus get this little orb that allows him to do rifts? Well, we'll learn that later. So yeah, I have Corypheus again here. Corypheus also has a corrupted dragon, which I have as Corypheus' dragon, which is just a normal dragon that's been blighted, not an archdemon. Looks a lot like an archdemon though. And let's get into some of our companions. So first of all, basically the plot of the game revolves around redoing the Inquisition. We're doing a second Inquisition now because the Chantry has basically fallen, and we can't rely on the Templars of the Circle of Magi. They're doing a war still, so we got to do this Chantry. We got to do this Inquisition thing. So you've got some advisors. First of all, you've got oh my god, I forget her first name. Well, first of all, you've got Colin, ex Templar. He is not Liliana, Josephine. Colin is in charge of the military forces. Ex Templar, obviously, recovering Lyrimatic. He was our romance for this run. That is important. Who your Inquisitor romance is important, and also your Inquisitor's race and gender is important. So we've got two of those covered so far. But yeah, basically struggling ex-Templar. He's like, you know what, a lot of fucked up shit happened to the Templars. I don't want to do that shit again. He's in charge of the military might of the Inquisition. Cassandra, Seeker Pentagon. Oh, I guess she's not really an advisor, so we'll move on. Liliana, who is the master of like spies for the Inquisition. She was the left hand of the Divine. If she died in Origins, she shows up as like a weird lyrium ghost thing that's never fully explained. So yeah, Liliana, she's around. She's kicking. She's your spy master. Her story is about you can soften her to become a slightly more agreeable person, or you can keep her hardened. She starts the game hardened, sort of an inverse of the Alistair thing. Um, So yeah, you can soften her or keep her hardened, and basically that will determine what kind of divine she will be. If she gets selected to be divine, there's three candidates in this game. She's the only one that has like two different personalities. Soften Liliana will institute reforms, but be generally more passive about it and more compassionate. Hardened Liliana is like a fucking war priest, rights activist. That's super cool. um, then you also got Ambassador Josephine Montelier, member of the Montelier family that I mentioned earlier. Her story is about realizing that the House of Repose is still doing that contract that the Du Paraquets did forever ago, because the House of Repose, if you have a contract for them, they've got to fulfill it. So, you know, they have to keep doing it like a century later. And basically, you have to get a member of the Du Paraquet family elevated to nobility so you can void and null the contract against the Monteliers. That's her storyline. She's pretty cool as well. Probably my favorite of the advisors. Okay. Getting into the three companions to start the game with. First of all, Varric again. He's back. We finally meet Bianca, who is the person that is that his crossbow is named after. Bianca designed Bianca, and it was actually crafted by this dwarf, a member of the Carta, who was supposedly the only person who could really make it, and he was kind of like killed basically for that knowledge. Bianca's voiced by Laura Bailey. She shows up. She's kind of anticlimactic, but she's also just a really cool character to have around for that one quest that she is around for. I hope she shows up again in Valgard. Probably won't. Um, Laura Bailey's too expensive for BioWare these days. God, what else? Oh yeah, Cassandra, Secret Pentagast. As I said, she was the one interrogating Varric for the location of Hawk. Hawk was supposed to be the primary antagonist of Inquisition. In fact, Hawk was kind of going to be the Commander Shepard of Dragon Age, which would have been awesome had Exodus and its original plans been followed through with, but EA kind of butchered that in the crib. So, that never got to happen, fucking unfortunately. And Inquisition with Corypheus as the main villain and all these other things about the Mage Templar War going on, like it is so set up to be a Hawk story, but she's just not there for it. It's very frustrating. Um, Cassandra's basically about her story is she's got to reform the Secret Order because the Seekers all go crazy and follow Corypheus. This is where we learn about like the Tranquility and stuff like that. She's also a member of the Pentagast family. Pretty important. Solus is this elf Caillou character who like walks the fade and has seen a lot of dreams and like does history through that. You hear a lot of interesting elvish history that isn't recorded through him, and his history of Thedas in general. His story is about his friend who is a spirit of wisdom that got corrupted into a demon of pride because it was summoned by the wrong mages to just protect them against Templars. Solus, in our platoon, ended up killing those mages, and we had to, unfortunately, let the wisdom spirit die after it had reverted to its wisdom spirit stuff because it was too tainted at that point. Um, Pretty cool character. Let's go through Blackwall and the Iron Bull next, because I think you get those two next. Blackwall's this Grey Warden, but he's not actually a Grey Warden. We learn later in the game. Blackwall is really Tom Rainier. He stole his name from a warden who was going to recruit him, but that warden died, and Rainier was like, you know what, that guy was a much better man than me. I'm gonna just make it so that he lived. And then he kept the name Blackwall and went and spread the warden's message through like fraud and stuff. He's kind of helping out around there. He's kind of a war criminal, and you kind of have to help him out there. Play the game. I get. I actually I don't really support you playing in position, so I'll just tell you. Um,
I don't support playing in position, so
yeah, basically his company was hired to kill this noble's family. He knew about this, but he didn't tell his troops very deliberately, so they went and killed his family. Big war crime. All of his troops were getting executed for it, but he got away. His story is about being like, you know what, I did that, living up to my responsibilities, stuff like that. Then we got the Iron Bull. The Iron Bull is a member of the Bit Hasreth, who is a Kunari. He leads the Bull's Chargers, who is this mercenary band. He starts the game as a spy for the Bit Hasreth. He's very loyal to the Kunari. Basically, then the Kunari are basically like, hey, you've got to abandon your guys to help out the Dreadnought. And Iron Bull's like, no. And we ended up siding with Iron Bull. If you don't, Iron Bull will betray you during Trespasser, which I think is pretty neat. Because like there's that one decision from forever ago, just to ally with the Qun instead of over the Bull's Chargers, um, has ripple effects later down the line. Neat. You still recording, by the way? Awesome, awesome. I was like checking in. Um, Neat. Okay, then Dorian, Cole, Sarah, and Vivian can all wait. Okay. The first little arc of Inquisition is about going to Redcliffe and resolving the Mage Templar War. Alistair's real mother, who's this mage and the first enchanter of the College of Enchanters, you meet her. Read about her in the books. She's just up there. Books are awesome, especially those first like 3 to 4. Masked Empire as well. Um, yeah, basically we chose mages. We got Dorian. Dorian is a Tevinter Magister, but he like doesn't like the Tevinter. Corypheus is he's got a lot of them Tevinters under his sway, including like this weird cult that wants to restore Tevinter to its glory age. Um, called the Venatori, I believe. So yeah, I'm getting a little sleepy. Fuck, I need to really pull through here. I'm almost there. This is the home stretch. Sorry, but if I keep pausing and stuttering though, because I am a little tired. Um, no, no, we're good. We're right there. We're right there. Yeah, there's this like weird time travel quest involved where you go into the future, you see how Corypheus won, and then you got to go back in time. His story is about meeting with his father again. His father doesn't like the fact that he's gay because he wanted him to marry another Teventer noble lady, and they tried putting him to like electroshock therapy and shit like that to make him straight. And Doran's like, "Fuck you, Dad. I don't want to talk to you." That's his story. Then Haven, by the way, Haven has been the base of operations for the Inquisition, built over the Temple of Sacred Ashes. Uh, yeah, I guess that's just a point. Haven. The reason that is because Haven and the Temple of Sacred Ashes was chosen as the meeting place for the Conclave by Divine Justinian the Fifth. That's where everyone fucking died at. And also, there's no clear heir to the Divine because everyone fucking died there. Uh, oh yeah, also, since we sided with the mages, the Templars become corrupted by Corypheus. Samson, who's a guy you meet in Dragon Age 2, is like a lyrium smuggler and an ex-Templar. He's the leader of the Red Templars now, so that's neat, I guess. Little continuity there. What's up next? Then we're going to talk about Vivian. She was the Grand Enchanter of the Orlesian Circle. She's one of the candidates for the Divine. The other candidate is Cassandra. Those are the three: Vivian, Liliana, and Cassandra. Cassandra ended up becoming the Divine. I can't remember what her Divine title is now. Fuck. Um, that's important. um, I know that like there are four different options because like Liliana has two different names depending on what she becomes as the divine, and I don't know any of the divine names off the top of my head, so that's unfortunate. That's fine. I'm sure we won't hear about it in the Veilguard. Yeah, I'm sure we won't hear about it. Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy that the divine isn't gonna be referenced in that game. Holy shit. Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Basically, she's the mistress to this like old Orlesian guy, and she loves him, but he dies of like cancer or whatever, despite the potion that you try making for him. Um. Okay. Sarah is an annoying friend of Red Jenny. The friends of Red Jenny's are like this fucking Robin Hood guild that fuck up nobles and give to the poor and whatever. Sarah sucks. The guild is cool. She's just annoying. That's pretty much all you need to know about her. Her story is she kills a noble who's a jerk.
That's it.
Yeah. Um, who
Vivian.
else do we got up there? No, we did Vivian. We did Vivian. Just no, we got to do Cole. It's actually very appropriate that you forgot about Cole. Cole
I
is
hate Cole.
Cole's a spirit. Who so basically like there was this apostate kid. He got locked up by the Templars. The Templars forgot he was there. He starved to death. The spirit of empathy came down and was like, no, and then that spirit became Cole. It like manifested into the physical world, which fucking insane how that can be done. But Cole's backstory is all in this book that you can read about, I guess, if you wanted to. Basically, his story has wide-reaching implications on the lore that probably should have come up sooner than this, but have never been mentioned throughout all of history. Whatever. His story is about becoming more of a spirit or more of a human. He can empathize with people. He can read their thoughts or their emotions more aptly. He can make them forget him, but if you make him too human, he loses the ability to make people forget him, which is what we did. Solus wants him to be more like Spirit. Varric wants him to be more like a human. That's pretty much all that's interesting about Cole because those two characters are interesting. Cole is a headache.
Cole sucks.
Yeah,
Every time we had to talk to him, I'm like, oh look, I'm basically talking to him.
yeah. Next up, the Wardens are being taken over by Corypheus. They're being led by him. We gotta go deal with that real quick. This is where we meet Hawk and Logain. And Hawk and Logain are like, fuck, man, Corypheus is fucking us up. Hawk is like working with Logain to get to the bottom of all that. Basically, you get to the Fade during the siege of Weishaupt. I think it's Weishaupt. No, it's a different fortress. Maybe. Fuck, I can't remember. Fucking Inquisition, man. I literally just played this game.
Yeah.
We
You're
literally
still.
just got done with this game. We're technically still playing it. We have the last two DLC to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how bad it is.
Yeah, it's a slog. God damn. I'm just giving you the spark notes, basically for the games. But like when it comes to Origins and 2, I'd actually recommend playing them. Inquisition, you can just watch this section of the lecture and be perfectly fucking fine, to be honest with you. This is about all the information anyone needs. And if you're not satisfied, go to fucking Gilderthal, and she'll tell you all about all the characters and shit that happens in Inquisition. Fuck. Okay. You go to the Fade. Divine Justini is there. She gives you back your memories, and now you're learning like, oh, Corypheus, he's got this orb. That's how we can do all this stuff. You have to choose between this big giant terror demon. You have to choose between Hawk or Loghain to stay behind in the Fade and distract it. Obviously, we chose that Hawk was going to come with us and live, so Loghain stayed back and died. Loghain's freaking cool, awesome, though. This can be two other characters. It can be Alistair if he's still a warden. It can also be Stroud, who is kind of like the replacement character if neither of those two are in. Stroud is just like a chill Grey Warden guy, but he shows up in Dragon Age 2. He's kind of a nothing burger of a character, though. He's just there to stand in for Alistair or Loghain. I think it also would have been neat if Carver slash Bethany could show up here, but they can't, so L. Fuck. Okay, so am I up to date on everyone's quests? I didn't. Yeah, it was very easy to do their quests. I know for some of the Dragon Age 2 ones, I had to wait until certain stuff happened in the story to talk about their quests. That probably sounded terrible.
Oh,
Setting the mic on my pants.
okay. This one can be a release this one as the unedited version.
Okay.
They were in the Fade.
Yeah, we did. Okay. They back from the Fade. Go to Orlais. We got to figure out who the next Emperor of Orlais is really going to be. Is it going to stay Empress Celine? Is Briala going to fucking take over somehow? Is Gaspard going to get to the throne? I'll tell you right now. Gaspard's sister is siding with Corypheus. We got to kill her ass. She's stupid. We kill her. Wicked Eyes and Wicked Hearts might be actually the worst fucking designed quest in anything ever. I absolutely hate that quest, and it needs to die. There's so many tedious shit side objectives that you have to keep track of to get the ending that you want. There's literally like fucking multi-page long guides about just how to get certain endings in that fucking quest. Basically, you can choose between one of the three, two of the three, or all three to rule or lay through some stuff. We managed to get Celine and Briala to be lovers again openly, and Gaspard got fucking executed, unfortunately. I prefer the ending where all three rule together, and I would actually go and change that in our Dragon Age Keep if it fucking mattered for the Veilguard, but it doesn't. It doesn't matter who the Emperor of Orlais is in this game. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Also, Morrigan's there. Morrigan was the advisor to Celine. She's got Kieran. Kieran's like this weird old god baby. Morgan's there like, oh, we gotta go to the Temple of Mythal, deep in the Arbor Wilds, because that's where Corypheus is going. We go there, we realize Morgan thinks he's there for the fucking Alluvion that's in there. Turns out there's actually this thing called the Well of Sorrows, which contains like all of the memories of all the followers of Mythal throughout the generations. You can either choose to drink from that, or Morgan can drink from that. I think we had us. No, Morgan drank from that. Basically, whoever drinks from the well is under the command of the Thal, which is important. This is also where we learn that Corypheus can do that thing where he turns into a Grey Warden after he dies. Which I'm just beginning to realize that we never actually properly resolved it. I don't think. Yeah, we learned that he can turn into a Grey Warden, and that's how we defeat him. Huh. Okay. I was just thinking out loud there.
I was not allowed to talk with Melody. Let me compose my thoughts again. Pumpkin popping eyes, like eyes in my eyes. It's kind of freaky. I don't know. Oh yeah, you were just whispering all of that under your breath, and I hear none of it, so I can't wait to hear it.
Okay. Um. What do we learn? Well, we basically learned that also there's a bunch of ancient elves who are woken up every time that the temple gets intruded upon. Um, we learned that Mythal, the spirit of Mythal, the fucking mother of the Evanurus and all that shit, is just a very powerful spirit, and she's kind of like Justice uh, to Flemeth. She's been Flemeth this whole time as Mythal. And Flemeth is like, hey, don't worry, I'll take the old god baby soul out of Kieran and I'll eat it. Don't worry about that, Morgan, and I'll let you do whatever you want. Morgan's like, I don't want to be under my mom's control because she's a rebellious teenager or whatever. But then Plymouth fucks off. Um, then Corypheus, his ass is back in Haven. We gotta kill his ass. Morgan turns into a dragon. She kills his dragon. Uh, we kill Corypheus by we open a Fade rift like in him, and he either gets sent to the Fade or he gets split in half. I don't recall exactly how it happens. Basically, it happen. He is either sent to the Fade or gets ripped in half. Either way, he's no longer a threat. Um, and that's the end of the game. At the end of the game, we learn that you know how just like Lethal is Flemeth, Solus just actually just straight up is the Dreadwolf Finharel. He's just that elf. He's been around for all this time. And he gave the fucking orb to Corypheus to open up the veil. I can't recall exactly what his plan is because I haven't replayed Trespasser yet. I know he wants to. I think he wants to break open the seals on the Epidurus or something like that. Maybe so he can kill them again. I don't know. Maybe he wants to join the Fade and the material plane back together again. That would make sense. I can't exactly recall Solus's plan or Finharel's plan. There was a really shitty fake leak for Dragon Age 4 years ago that said the opening of the game was going to be Solus riding in on a big wolf as he's like tearing the city up, and he's going to be like, "My name is Salos," because he changed his name for some reason. That was
That would be so stupid.
that'd
Oh
be
my
so
god.
stupid. I believe it.
My god. I cannot imagine. Like, imagine changing your name from Drew with the DRU to Drew DREW.
Yeah.
That's the effective change that you did.
Anyway, that's what we learned there. Solus eats the Mythal soul, but actually, in our world state, it was the old god baby soul that he ate. Either way, Flemeth's dead, and the Mythal soul presumably goes to Morrigan, I believe. Uh, for some reason, Solus ran to use some god soul, so he decided to eat that all up. Fuck. So I've got Fenharil there. We're done with both sidebars. All right, DLC. First of all, the Jaws of Hakon. This is what I was talking about earlier. Hakon Winter's Breath. Big dragon. Inquisitor Emeridon had to time lock himself and the dragon just to keep it to stop raging war against Orlais. You team up with this tribe of Avar that are fighting this other Avar called the Jaws of Hakon, and their worship is the Hakon Winter's Breath. Honestly, this DLC probably is the best part of Inquisition. It's got a lot of cool Avar lore. Their culture is really cool. It kind of restored my faith in the storytelling a little bit. I also like the Descent a lot, which is the next DLC. The DLC for this game is good because I also like Trespasser. It'll be fun to play that again. Yeah, so basically, you gotta go wake up Inquisitor Merrin. He's like, oh my god, you're the new Inquisitor. That's so cool that you're also a Daily Shelf. I'm gonna die now as time catches up to me. And then you kill Hakon Winter's Breath, and you free the Frostback Basin from the jaws of Hakon. Woo! The Descent. This is where we learn about Titans and all that shit. Not too important overall. Really cool DLC. Very more Deep Roads Expedition stuff. Earthquakes are happening. I basically covered the story of this DLC earlier because the story of this DLC basically is the revelation that Titans exist and everything that surrounds that. So just basically go back to the beginning of the lecture where I talked about all that shit if you want to hear more. Okay. Oh, fuck. Here we are. Final stretch. Trespasser DLC. There's a meeting. I think it's It might be hosted in Kirkwall. I don't know. All the pure powers are here, and they're like, is the Inquisition gonna stick around or not? We're gonna have to figure out. It's been 3 years, I think, at this point, since the end of Inquisition. Inquisition itself takes place over the course of 1 year, which is insane for all the stuff that happens there. Um, Basically, Trespasser, you got to chase Solus around the Fade a lot. Um, and at the end of the DLC, you decide if the Inquisition is sticking around or not, and you also decide if you're going to redeem Solus or try and kill Solus. Those are the other two choices that matter for Inquisition or for Veilguard. And that's it. That's pretty much it. Um, I know it was very brief with all three of the games, and especially with Inquisition. Uh, go play the games if you give a shit. To be honest with you, this was mostly just a lecture to go over all of the lore and stuff leading up to the Veilguard, and as well as just like a brief catch up for people who don't know about the lore but want to play Veilguard for whatever reason. Um, um, that's it. I don't know if I'll do another Dragon Age lecture. If I do, then I'll probably take a little longer with the games or something like that. There's more areas that could be expounded upon here. Yes. Oh, okay. That's basically all the lore you need to know. It's been, I think, 6 hours now. How long is the video? Can you tell? Does it say?
We're getting close to two.
Oh, we're getting close to 2. What are we at?
151.
Okay. So yeah, that's a 5-hour lecture. Wow. Jesus. For reference, before I revised this lecture and added all the stuff about magic and the religions and all the new dates that I added, the original version of this lecture was like 3 hours long. So I added a good amount of content there. And I think the first time I also took a lot longer on the games. So
Damn.
added a lot of content. Future lectures. What are my plans? I know I want to do a series on Doctor Who, I think, because I like Doctor Who a lot. Right now, I definitely want to do a lecture on Classic Who, and then I want to do a lecture on the main range, which are the 275 stories that compose Big Finish's main range of Doctor Who stuff that continued on from Classic Who. So those might be my 2 Doctor Who lectures. I might do more, we'll see. A Star Trek lecture would be interesting, but I'm not too knowledgeable on Star Trek right now. I've always just thought the world is really cool. I've seen a lot of the shows. So I would have to heavily research that one. I've seen a lot of Star Trek, to her credit. I have considered doing a Cthulhu Mythos lecture for the longest time because I think all that stuff is really cool. That'd probably be a shorter one because I just want to cover mainly the stuff from Lovecraft, although I think I might branch out a little more and talk about the Cthulhu Mythos through the years. I think that would be interesting. Tell me in the comments which one of these you want to hear about more.
You know what I think we should do? I think once a year I get to choose a lecture to do.
Oh, that'd be nice.
That'd be
Yeah.
fun.
I've also sort of drafted up plans to do some Forgotten Realms lectures. Forgotten Realms is the base setting for Dungeons and Dragons. I fucking love the Forgotten Realms. It is an awesome setting. There's so much going on there that I think what I would have to do is I'd have to do a base history of the Forgotten Realms lecture, and then I'd probably have to do other lectures on individual, yeah, like individual cities and regions. I know Waterdeep is big enough. So much lore around Waterdeep that could be its own lecture.
Not every one of our lectures has to be like 2 hours long.
That's true as well. Yeah, I could have shorter lectures.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Forgotten Realms is awesome though. I want to do lectures set there. So that's pretty much what I'm contemplating. Cthulhu Mythos lecture, Forgotten Realms lectures, Doctor Who lectures, Star Trek lecture? Question mark.
Yes.
So if you guys are interested in any of those, let me know. This has been a very long night. But it's been a lot of fun, and I'm happy to be doing these again. So See you guys in the next one.